Robert Greenleaf coined the term servant leadership in 1970. This leadership model was known as a way to put others before yourself, utilizing your care and concern for others. I want to use this framework as I discuss the person that I interviewed for my leadership proposal. Briony Hill has been a mentor of mine for the past 5 years. She is also one of the most servant leaders that I have ever come across in my time, either as a leader or a follower. Chapter 11 of our textbook goes more in depth into the 4 characteristics that Robert Greenleaf coined and discussed back in the 70s. I want to utilize these 4 characteristics as I discuss some of the things that I learned about Briony in our interview together. So the first characteristic of a servant leader is concern for others. So Briony has spent immense amount of time within Starbucks, moving up in the company and also helping others to develop and to move up within the company. She started a partner network that is called Women's Development Network. What it does is that it works within the partner networks to ensure that women that want to move up and want to better themselves, either within Starbucks or outside of Starbucks, have an avenue to do so. She served as president for 2 years and still sits on the board today. Characteristic number 2 is stewardship. So a servant leader acts on behalf of others. This is something that Briony Hill also excels at. Be it an advocate for baristas, shift supervisors, or store managers in her own district or within her peer team. So as a district manager alongside of her, she is known as somebody that will act on anything that she doesn't feel right. She's the first to speak up. She's the first to ensure that all partners are being treated fairly. Characteristic number 3 is equity or justice. I believe this really goes hand in hand with character number 2. And I was also able to learn a lot about Briony as we discussed her leadership in her 15 years with Starbucks. So she has utilized her time to develop others. She's utilized her time to grow herself as a leader. So she spent time in Seattle doing project management. She has spent time as a store manager and most recently as a district manager. The last characteristic of a servant leader, as discussed in Chapter 11 of our textbook, is high moral character. So having high morals is incredibly important as a leader of others. Some of the subcategories of having a high moral character would be integrity, honesty, empathy, and of course wisdom. These are all characteristics that I have been blessed to know and to learn from Briony in the last 8 years that I have known her. She brings an immense amount of integrity to her work, very high work ethic. She holds herself and others to a very high expectation with the utmost honesty, but also hand in hand with the empathy that she herself was a barista and she herself was a store manager. So she's able to bring an aspect of leadership that I think sometimes an external leader in a culture such as Starbucks cannot bring. Her wisdom, having spent 15 years with the same company, is also immense. At the end of the day, her servant leadership has been an amazing source of mentorship for myself, as well as many, many other leaders within Michigan and in every area that Briony has led. It was a pleasure interviewing her and learning more about what has led her to become a leader. And at the end of the day, she really cares about others. And that's why I chose to frame her leadership and what I learned about her around servant leadership. I really feel with what I have learned in the textbook and what I have learned about servant leadership in the past really embodies what Briony is about, which is caring for others, developing herself while also developing her team, her peers, and even those above her. It was really a pleasure to interview her, and I thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.